in the end, I believe that everybody deserves a good financial plan and deserves to have a hope for the future and deserves confidence in their future. And that falls along with our mission statement. Welcome to a Wiser Retirement Podcast. Today is a special milestone. We're celebrating our 300th episode. We've done this 300 times. Hard to believe that. We'll take a look at the history of Wiser Wealth Management, what makes us different, and where we're headed in the future. I'm Casey Smith, and today I'm joined with Senior Financial Advisor Shawna Theriault. Each week, we bring you practical advice on retirement, investing, and planning for your financial future. Except for this week, we're going to talk about the past and the future.
Yes.
From a company standpoint. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. That really helps us out. So let's get started. Hey, Shawna.
Hello. Episode 300.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for everyone who's listening, especially our regular listeners. We get emails from you with show topic suggestions and comments. We always enjoy that. I'm always, we live in a world where everybody wants to be like a social media star, a podcast star or whatever. I don't care about any of that really. No. But it's always funny to see people that come in and interact with us because they only know us from the podcast. Right. And just how he's like, oh, is Shawna here? I heard her on the podcast. I'm like, she's a normal person.
I am a normal person. Yes.
Come and talk and say hi.
Absolutely.
Why do we do this? Well, how do we even get started with this? Honestly, this is something I've wanted to do since really 2007. And it takes a while to build a team, like years, to put all your ideas out there and start them. Yeah. So we did it. And we did it during a quiet time when COVID started in 2020. Mm. And I looked at the time our data person was Brad Lyons, and I looked at Brad and I said, we should do a podcast. And Brad was good for anything. He's like, yeah, let's do a podcast. And we enjoyed our time with him when he was here, and I had good banter with him, and that's just kind of started.
Well, that was everyone was doing the internet and like we were sitting at home, right?
Well, we weren't. A lot of people, Wiser still not.
I understand, but I'm just saying there was a lot of people that were interacting differently than they had before.
Very, very, very correct. But we started and we got like 20 episodes in, and I think someone said, how many downloads are we getting? And it was like 25. We're getting 25 downloads.
And they were all your parents.
Like, yeah, I know. It's like, it's probably my mom.
Family?
It's probably my mom on 4 different devices,
right.
5 times each, right? Or something like that.
Moms are good for that.
So yeah, it was slow going. I had read an article about a podcaster, finance-based podcaster out in Seattle area that did it for 5 years, and it finally took off for him. And I was like, okay, we're going to keep doing this. The purpose of the podcast has always been to educate our listeners, mostly who are going to be our wiser client base, about topics, our thoughts and opinions on different subjects. We tried different. There's different formats of the podcast. If you listen, there's a gentleman out in California who's a client here that has listened to every single episode. He was binge listening because they're about 30 minutes each, right? And it's funny because they go, where's Brad? I've heard Brad in the last few episodes. Like, well, Brad hasn't worked here in a couple of years. He's like, oh, okay. You'll hear Andrew pretty soon.
Yeah.
But we started off, and as we went along, more and more listeners started joining us. So that was fun. We tried to do the first few episodes of just educational type things that could live forever. And then I think we did more current events for a while. And then we kind of went back to episodes that would last longer. Yeah. Which is kind of what we focus on, now. All the episodes total are a little over 70,000. So we've had 70,000 downloads.
The downloads. Okay.
So that's like 233 downloads per episode. But if you take away that first couple of years where we're struggling to get 40 or 50 downloads, the downloads now are very, very big, which helps average it out, I guess, over time. We also started a Wiser Retirement YouTube shortly after. So this podcast could be watched through the YouTube channel. And I'm always amazed at how many views we get there. I think in the last 30 days, there's been 90,000 views through the podcast, not just of the podcast on YouTube, of the podcast, plus all the video shorts that we do that come off the podcast. So that's been I think, pretty successful. There's not a whole lot of financial advisors that are doing exactly what we're doing. So it's really hard to benchmark it because some of the best firms have some of this, but the format's not good or the video quality is not good. And so I don't even see them as inspiration. Josh Brown and what he does on the compound and what he does, he's on CNBC every day. It means it's huge hood ornament for his firm. That's a whole different level. I'll never be at that level. I'm perfectly fine with that. But some of those things that they do are inspirational, but usually what we try to do is find things outside this podcast that are not related to finance even, and try to bring in some of the formats of how we do that. And it takes a good team. I mean, to produce a podcast, this room we have is just for the podcast now. Yeah. We have our producer, Nick, sitting outside the room, listening in, waving at me when I've done something that I shouldn't have done. We've got Hadley, who's been here for 4 years now, helping us craft all this ahead of time, gives me my show notes, and then takes all the packaged up podcast that once it's done by Nick, then goes to her and she disseminates it around the world. Right. So we'll be going through a transition soon. Hadley's going to go work with her family and her family business. And we'll be transitioning a new marketing manager into the mix who will be doing a lot of those tasks going forward. Top 3 episodes. These are all linked to the show. Is number 1, episode 173 is making the most of your airline 401k. We do a lot of flat fee planning for airline pilots. Therefore, that would make sense. That's where a lot of those leads have come from. Episode 168, everything you need to know about 529 plans, would be the second most downloaded episode. And then episode 184, what's it like traveling full-time in retirement with the retirement travelers?
Which is,
and actually that was John and Bev who did that episode with us. That's a great episode to listen to. I was literally traveling myself. My daughter is a English eventing writer, and we were actually in Kentucky, and I was having to stay in a RV myself for a week, which is horrible. I don't know how they do it, but anyway, and I was doing the podcast from the RV, so it was kind of funny. But they sold everything and they travel the world. Like, wow. Supposedly all their possessions are in 2 backpacks. Wow. That's it.
Wow. So
kudos for them for living out their dream. If like half the time we're just trying to get our clients to take 1 trip a year. This is one of my other, one of my favorite guests was James Hughes Jr. He's the author of the book Family Wealth, Keeping It in the Family. We read that book as a team. We reached out and he was willing to do a podcast, but his book is about legacy planning. And he has I think 3 different books, but that book in particular was really inspirational about not just creating wills, but putting a letter on top and saying, this is my story and this is how I want to be remembered. And this is how you should think about money and how you should think about what you're inheriting. And really, really inspirational podcast. We were so excited to get him. And then we have some of our regulars like Tom Townsend from Townsend Realty Group comes in and talks about real estate, usually about once a quarter or 2. Logan Steele's been on many times from Steel Choice Insurance. He's our go-to person for healthcare. Yeah. If you need individual healthcare yourself, or if you need a supplemental plan, that's a whole world that seems to be constantly changing, and you have to have someone who specializes in that. We've had Dr. Tara Arnold on for an episode from Whole Heart Psychotherapy. I've done quite a few interviews with our podcast with Marty Paradise Business Coaching. Those are always fun. Those go really long because you get 2 business guys talking business. Like it's really bad as far as the length. Don Friedman, president of the Digital Assets Council for Financial Professionals, DAC-FP. Don's done a couple of crypto episodes with us, really a pioneer in helping advisors understand cryptos and the future of cryptos in relation to wealth management firms. And then this one actually was a really popular episode. John Ostenson, if I'm pronouncing his last name right, he was at Fanbridge Consulting. He basically helps people with purchasing businesses, specifically franchises, and we've had clients actually use his services. We've had Amy Rambo on for a few episodes from Blue Pineapple Travel. Amy just helped me get my family down to the Dominican Republic for a little vacation, which I don't know, that was interesting. She did a great job. Nothing on her, just culture shock for me. You can never have enough tip money down there. It's ridiculous. Like every time I turn around, it's like I was like hands out for a tip. I'm like this is getting expensive. But anyway, it's been a good run. It was an experiment to begin with, and I think it's actually become a part of our firm because we get to showcase all the extremely intelligent people that work here. My position has always been hire people smarter than me. So if I hire a person, are they smart at me at this particular job that I'm hiring them to do? Right. And if they are, then they could be a good fit if they fit in all the other areas. Right. So it's getting to showcase, William and Grace, and eventually you guys will probably meet Caroline and Alex and maybe Shawna, Shawna with so many designations, we had to shrink her business card font. So we, Andrew, getting to showcase our team and how smart and detail oriented the team is. That the podcast really helps with that. I have a podcast out about me and the history of Wiser. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the history of Wiser overall, but the company was founded in 2001 after I had experienced the brokerage world and having to sell annuities and insurance. And I just thought that there was a better way to be doing this, but we should do it in a way that is under the fee only banner, where we're not selling any products to clients that pay us directly for asset management and they pay us for financial planning, but we're never selling them anything.
Right.
Only thing we have to sell is our that they can trust us and we have good ideas. Right.
Exactly.
And that's a tall task because honestly, in the financial services industry, there's a lot of people out there. There's 7 advisors to every 1 like qualified lead out there. And the barrier to entry to be a financial advisor is very, very low. You don't even have to go to be a finance major. You can literally take a test that's not extremely difficult and call yourself a financial advisor. And if you can sell yourself, then people will trust you, even though you really don't know anything.
Yeah.
So that's sad from an industry standpoint, but the fiduciary fee only standard, which we operate under, makes a difference. Now, more and more people are coming to our side, as they should.
Yeah.
In some countries, you have to work this way. It's the law. But in the US, we are really kind of in a chokehold from insurance companies, and they couldn't sell their products because they're not in the best interest of the client. So we have this fee-based model, or we have a commission model that are more prevalent in our industry. So I saw the need for that, for more focused on financial planning that go along with the asset management. And then quite honestly, the world's really bad at service. Like we're a service economy, but we can't return phone calls and emails.
Yeah.
We can't seem to put others before ourselves. And so I wanted to create a company culture that could return phone calls and emails, even when it's not in our interest to do that. Meaning that maybe there's not a dollar that we're going to earn by making this phone call, but it's the right thing to do.
Right.
So creating that brand and that culture. And I think we've done that at Wiser over the last 24 years. In 2007, I purchased a company called Wiser Financial, and I rebranded it and called it Wiser Wealth Management. And so that's where really Wiser Wealth Management started really growing, was in 2007. I was a dual career person. I ran around as an airline pilot. I flew for Colgan Air and part of the U.S. Airways network up in the Northeast. And then I got hired on with them right after 9/11.
Yeah.
A few months after 9/11. was lucky to have the job.
Yeah.
And then in 2004, I finally got on with Atlantic Southeast Airlines, which is, you would know that as Delta Connection. You bought a ticket on Delta and you went anywhere in the Southeast. It probably was on a CRJ operated by Atlantic Southeast Airlines. And so I did that for 10 years, 6,700 flight hours, over 4,400 flights in my logbook under the Delta banner. And I did mostly backside of the clock flying so that I could build this firm. And so I flew in the evenings and I worked here during the daytime. And here we are. In 2014, I stopped flying. And so we have a lot of pilot clients here because of my relationship in the industry. And it's been a fun run. In the end, I believe that everybody deserves a good financial plan and deserves to have a hope for the future and deserves confidence in their future. And that falls along with our mission statement. And it falls along with about 25% of the people that we help here can't even afford us, meaning that they have high debt. They don't have the dollars to pay us for our flat fee, and they don't have the assets for us to manage. Yeah. But we take that time we have with them and we focus on trying to make their lives better. And 1 out of 10, I feel like, appreciate it and do it.
Right.
And it's fun to see their success. The other 9 realize that being fiscally responsible is hard work and it doesn't come naturally always. Yeah. And we don't hear from them again. Yeah. But I'm willing to work with the 9 to help the 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's, in our company handbook, it even says, sometimes, payment for services is not, is not in dollars, but an unsolicited hug.
Right.
And also that when we all die someday, they're not going to say, oh, Casey ran an efficient wealth management firm or the best or the biggest. Nobody cares at that point. It's about the lives that you touch. So that's what I think we've surrounded ourselves with, 18 team members now that all believe that they're here to make a difference in someone else's life.
Right.
And it's really hard to find those people. When we go interview for people, when we have open positions, most people only think about themselves and it comes through in the interview. I tell the story quite frequently. I don't think I've ever said it on the podcast, but one of the biggest cases, let's look at our associates. So Michaela, who is no longer an associate, she's a financial advisor now. Yes. Okay, her minor in college was foreign mission work. Grace, who's an associate here, her major was finance, but she spent all her summers on foreign mission trips in third world countries and such. Right. We took a chance hiring her because she'd never done this job before, not even an internship, and she's turned out great.
Yeah.
William had a couple good internships. He was a financial planning major, but he volunteered time in organizations helping people who were financially underprivileged. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he had the volunteer work to put in there.
Yeah.
So you look at those scenarios of these rising stars, and here at Wiser, that's the secret ingredient is their heart.
Right. You can train the job. But you can't train the character.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And so that's what we try to reproduce here. Those are all the warm and fuzzies. We all have to do the job in the end, but I assume everyone's gonna be able to do the job. You just want them to also not only be thinking about themselves, but truly caring about the person on their side of the table. So when we started Wiser, we were an asset management firm. We didn't really do financial planning. It wasn't until
that was probably true back then.
Back in that era, the early 2000s.
That was, there wasn't a lot of financial planning.
Correct. Early 2000s, we mostly focused on just assets. And then as I tried to add more value, I started adding planning, and the planning was mostly retirement planning, right? What most of the world does now.
Right.
You just focused on retirement, time value of money calculations, all you were doing.
Yeah.
I got X amount of dollars. Can I make it? But there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And that's where we are now as a firm. That's why we have all these people here, because there's so much more to planning than just, can I make it through retirement with enough
And the
income?
clients know that. They feel that now. I feel like there's a shift.
Yes.
They're coming in like, okay, you can manage my money, but what is the other stuff? And that's just the most important. The planning is obviously it's all important, and investing in money is important, but it's a piece of it.
Well, I feel like we can talk about this in the future section, but asset management to me is a commodity. Robots are doing a lot of it now. We'll probably do more of it in the future.
Yeah.
So as an advisor, what is your true value beyond asset management? If you don't have one, you're not going to be relevant.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that we're looking at the entire family fiscal health, not just that you have enough money to make it to the end.
Yeah.
So we introduced probably 6 years ago now, flat fee planning. So we didn't have to manage assets. You could pay us a flat fee.
Yeah.
And
because so many people get turned away at other firms. They're just like, they have this or nothing.
They have assets under management, but then they can't help you.
Right.
And then there's also, because remember I said the barrier to entry in our industry is very, very low. So there's also people who have been taken advantage of by other advisors. It's kind of like adopting a cute puppy from the pound, and you go to pet it, and what does it do? It puts its head down. Doesn't trust you yet. It's been beaten before. And that's what some of these old advisors do. They just beat the crap out of your portfolio, take advantage of you, or don't return phone calls and emails. Or I think a lot of people, they say, I deposited $500,000 with a rollover IRA maybe 2 years ago, and I just realized he never invested it. You're like, what the heck? Well,
or he hasn't called you in 2 years.
or hasn't called you in 2 years. And that's partially because they're probably working in a high productive firm. I mean, they have to have a lot, they have to produce a lot of revenue per client,
right,
or per advisor. And so after you have, they've gotten everything out of that turnip, they move to the next turnip. Right.
Yeah.
And so they have like 3,500 clients per advisor.
Yeah.
Right. Where we have hundreds.
Yeah.
So they're totally different service model in the end. So anyway, we introduced that, and that's been a big hit, especially in the aviation space. Ideal clients at our firm are always retirees, because cash bucket system, your now famous chart that you had drawn up of how we manage cash in retirement.
Right.
Right. That's a little unique to how we
handle things. How do you sleep
things.
at night? The sleep factor too.
Correct. So we have, I think, a unique process for that other firms aren't doing. I enjoy working with business owners and obviously our pilots. Business owners only because most advisors have never been a business owner. They don't understand how these people think and wired.
Right.
And it's not that there's some secret sauce that I have with business owners, but it's just that they don't have as much in the traditional 401ks. A lot of it's wrapped up in the value of the business.
Right.
And therefore you need to grow that business. And with a lot of advisors, they say, I specialize in small business owners, but they work with business owners that are selling their practice, because then they become more like a traditional client at that point.
Right.
Where I like working with the people
and then there's something
who are trying to grow their business.
Right. Right.
Let's take it from where it is and let's make it bigger. Let's scale. Let's do it. And I'm not a business coach. I got Marty Paradise for that. Right.
Right.
But I've done this. I'm doing this, and I understand the pain. I also understand the importance of succession planning. Okay. So these other advisors who want to work with business owners, they've probably never even talked to anybody about succession planning. What happens if you get hit by the bus and your business is all wrapped up in you? How does your spouse get compensated for that business?
Yeah.
Will they? Yeah. Is he just going to shut down? That'd be horrible.
Yeah.
So those are all things that I enjoy working with on the business owners. We have a lot of women clients here, single women, widowed women, divorced women. I think that's been a lot of it because of your influence, being a woman yourself and very accomplished.
Thank you.
And so they're going to gravitate to other accomplished women because that's where they feel safe.
Well, and we have a lot of women working for Wiser too.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is very unique to our industry.
That's true.
As well.
I think it's like 80% of the women at this, or 80% of the employees of the firm are women.
Right.
So that probably has a lot to do with it as well. Yeah,
right.
That's true.
I do think that's.
I'm trying to hire men. They haven't succeeded getting through the process.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, Alex is here now. We got William.
Yes, that's true. Andrew.
And Andrew. So yeah, I guess I have my guy foursome now for golf.
You do.
I've never had that before. I just not realized
you do. Although Michaela's probably better than a lot of them.
Michaela's going to beat all of us. Yeah, Michaela beat all of us in golf.
She's the golfer.
Before we get back into the episode, have you ever wondered why annuities keep coming up as a recommended investment? While they're often pitched as a way to reduce risk and secure your future, annuities frequently benefit the salesperson more than the investor. Download our free guide, Buyer Beware, Why Do They Keep Trying to Sell You That Annuity, at wiserinvestor.com/guides. Now let's get back to the episode.
So, it's, who's our ideal client? Our ideal client is really anybody who's looking for confidence in their financial future.
Yeah.
And that seems very cliche, but that's the reality. We're scalable. We can work with someone who has a little, who wants to have a lot. And we have the ability to work with people with a lot, to make sure that they have the tax, planning done, that they should in place, and as well as the estate planning, right?
Well, and that's one of the things I really loved about the firm is that you can meet people where they are. And as some firms say that, oh, we help,
Yeah,
people.
But everyone has to fit into a box.
Exactly. So it's like, well, you go here, but even if someone, most of America has most of their money in 401ks in their home.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they don't need planning.
Right.
So, it's so beneficial to them and, inspiring potentially to be able to help them at a younger stage. Cause it's like, okay, I have to have this much money for an advisor to work with me because it's AUM or assets under management. Right. Or you won't even talk to me. But how do I even get to that point if you won't even talk to me? Because I don't really know how I'm doing with the finances, right?
Right.
So it's like,
once you get a $500,000, call me. Or reality is most firms now, good firms, are going to be $1 to $3 million.
Right.
So once you get to $1 to $3 million, and you call me, and I'll tell you how to be successful.
Right. It's kind of like when you graduate college, and it's like, you're like, I have a degree, but you have no experience. Well, get experience, and then I'll hire you. It's like, well, that doesn't. I can't get experience. You don't get. So it's just like that. And so I love that we can truly meet people where they are and help them.
Part of it is my vision of, you have to build the future, and you build the future by planting seeds today. And that's what most firms aren't willing to do, because they're owned by private equity companies. They're owned by multiple owners who are looking for their equity payouts.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to invest time and money into a young person who they're actually losing money on. So we probably have a third of our client base that if I hired a consultant, they would tell us to fire that person because they don't generate revenue for us.
Wow.
And the way I look at it is, these are people that we're going to serve just like they had $10 million.
Right.
Because they will eventually have it. And there's goodwill with that. There's goodwill that develops. And of course, I tell people about this. And so if anything, look at it as a marketing expense.
Right.
Yeah, I'm losing $4,000 a year in this relationship. But that's not what it's about. It's about, did we change someone's life?
Yeah, because your mission is different than that.
Correct.
It's not about the money.
Correct. Money's important. You have to have enough of it.
Any firm
to keep running.
I mean, really,
right?
you could fire half the employees and half the clients and still make the same amount of money. Really, in a lot of firms.
Yes,
you could. Yeah. I mean, but that's not growing the opportunities for different clients, and it's not growing opportunities for other people coming in.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's a different.
So it's thinking a little differently about.
But even
what makes up
further,
a firm.
True, and I would say even further to that is the heart that you have in it. And then most advisors have heart and they care about their business, but there's just something, which is why I came here. It's just, there's just something different about your perspective and the way in which you go about it. Because it literally, I mean, we're a business, we have to look at the numbers, but none of what we do is driven by the numbers ever. Like it's about the people. And I've worked for great firms, great. And they love the people too. And I'm not saying they don't, but it's just a different feel of, you've said it on the podcast before. It was like when I first came here, I was going to meet with someone who was a large potential client, and you're like, I don't care if you win the business, just help them. You know what I mean? And so there's never any pressure. Well, and that's the thing. And I tell clients that, I'm a salaried employee. I don't make commissions. I don't get paid. Whether you come with me or you don't come with me, I'm just here to help you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but that's the stance of where I worked, everywhere on this side of the business. Yeah. So that's a differentiation. That's a huge differentiator than, some of the people that are making commissions, et cetera. Not that everybody that makes commissions is bad, but it's really hard to know if they're giving you what's best for you or not, because that they stand to benefit from it.
Or even quotas. We have firm goals, but I don't have any one person here that I would go to and say, hey, did you close X number of accounts?
Right.
Now, if we have a bad close ratio, we do track numbers, we do track data,
Right.
But if we had, if I was closing 20% of the people that I met with, you guys would probably be like, hey, what are you doing wrong? like we right in our position, we should be closing probably 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
Right. So we want everybody in that 60 to 70% range. That just means that we're probably not talking about our values as much and how we can help people.
Mhm.
Right. So I'll coach somebody through that. But obviously we want to win every single client because that makes us feel like we're the best.
Right.
Because if they interviewed other people, we'd have to be the best. What's happened, been doing this for 25 years. What's interesting is that people who interview us, they go to another firm, but they eventually come back to Wiser.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I say back to, but they were never actually physically here. They came in and did a consultation,
Right.
but they go somewhere else and they go, yeah, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And then they work their way back. It may take 4 years.
Sure.
But I see people come
Those
through
are the seeds
and I'm
you're
like,
planting.
yeah. And I don't always remember them. They'll say, remember we did we interviewed with you guys, 4 or 5 years ago. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I do 15 consults a week. Right. So if they say no, you just kind of move on to the next person. But we probably could do a better job of even follow up because I have so much PTSD from the year I was in the brokerage business where you had to call people out of the yellow pages. For those young people listening,
Old
Yellow
colors.
Pages was basically the Google. This is before we had Google. There was a Yellow Page, and you just went through this zip code and you just called for dollars after like 6 p.m. It was horrible, and that is not my MO. I don't like rejection at all.
Yeah.
So my whole thing.
I don't know
now
anybody
is,
that likes that.
my whole thing now is like, I'll tell you how I can help you. And if you don't think that's a good fit, then I'm not going to call you again.
Yeah.
We onboard 4 to 6 people a week. I'm not desperate for
No.
business. Right.
Well, that's the thing. We're looking for people that are looking for us, right?
Correct,
We're looking
yes.
for people who, we can help,
Yes.
who need us and, where it's a good fit. And so
that's actually the thing with our marketing director right now and me, and she listens to these episodes. So yes, I'm talking to you, Kate. But so Kate wants me to like call people if they did a download off the website to like call them and say, hey, would you like to come in for a consultation? I don't even want to do that.
yeah.
Like that is not my MO. That is not my thing. To me, that's like, well, that's warm calling. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. Like I think we have such a good thing here that when people realize the value, we don't need to be hunting people down.
Right. Right.
That's a terrible sales job, by the way. Like if you're running your business this way, I would tell you not to do it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're putting out things that, people resonate with and, they see the value in you, they're reaching out to you, they're calling you because they have a need and they see the value that you add just because of things like this where we're talking.
It's not
Correct.
me. We all do consultations, but
I understand.
Yes.
I meant we, but they
Right.
see the value of that. So
you just don't want to be pushy. And so that's what I promise people is that we're never going to be pushy. Only time we're pushy is when you're doing something, once you become a client and something stupid's happening.
right.
And I got to be like, you're going to be in a really bad position if you execute this.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
very
ultimately
rarely,
up to them.
very rarely does that happen.
Right.
Very rarely. And fortunately, over the years when it has happened, it's been a client who's been here for such a long time.
Yeah.
And there's been time periods in crises where I've said, I'm not selling this portfolio. You can hit enter. Like I'll key it up. You can hit enter, but I'm not responsible for this.
Yeah.
It's happened twice in 25 years.
Yeah.
And both times we laugh about it now. They're still clients. We laugh about it. They're like, man, you really.
You and the client.
You mean the client? Yeah.
Not us.
That's right. No, not us internally, but yeah,
we're not laughing at clients.
Me and the client.
Yeah.
Me and the client laugh about it now. Over dinner or something like that, just because they're like, oh man, if I had done that, I'd be so screwed right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's talk about just some quick stories. I got 3 examples that Hadley asked me to give, and this podcast is probably a little longer than normal, and hopefully people are still listening. But these are just kind of like my journey as being a financial advisor. But I had a couple very early in my career that had gotten into a lot of debt from that they owed to the IRS. And what had happened was he'd become a independent contractor for a consulting company. He's making really good money. Let's just say $300,000 a year. And he was an S corp, and you just get a check, you get your checks, but you forget that you got to make a big chunk and send it back to the government because you got to pay the employer portion and your own personal portion of taxes. So they had gone for a couple of years. He gotten referred by a client and he owed like hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS. And this couple, I remember this is when I realized that you're not just a financial advisor. Sometimes you become a marriage counselor. And I saw the path forward, and we were trying to negotiate with the IRS. If we couldn't negotiate with the IRS, then we were going to have to liquidate some assets to cover the tax. But the assets we're liquidating were assets that were inherited from a deceased parent of the spouse. And there was some emotional attachment to those. So it created a problem. And I could tell there's friction in the relationship. And actually last year in their review meeting, they recounted this to me, and I did remember it, but I sat there at the table across from them and I said, you guys can get out of this and you're going to be just fine. But I said, if you guys get divorced over this, I quit.
That's funny.
Because remember, this is early 2000s. So we didn't do tremendous amount of planning at that time. It was more asset management.
Yeah.
So this is all on board planning at this point. Right. But I just looked at him and said, look, I'm going to save your marriage. I'm going to save the tax situation. But if you quit each other, then I'm quitting both of you, just to let you know.
Way to give an ultimatum.
And
I'm sure that's why they stayed together because of you.
They laughed at that. And they said, we were on the rock. She's like, I don't know if we ever gotten divorced, but we were definitely on the rocks over the whole thing, but you put us at ease. And so I always go back to that story. I tell that to young advisors to say, you're not just a financial advisor. You're the non-emotional partner in a relationship, meaning that you're only called on when needed. But when you're needed, you're not going to take sides. You're just going to look at it from an objective standpoint and try to help them. And that's what I was doing at that time. So they've been at this firm for 22 years, I think. So it's been it's been fun to see them grow and even go through they've gone through much bigger life challenges since then, and they're stronger than ever. So it's fun to see them succeed and them been here so long. I mean, our client retention rate is 99%. So that's just tracking over 5 years. We don't track it after 5 years just because the form that we have to fill out to the SEC every year in our regulation stuff doesn't ask for us if we don't track it. But 99% for 5 years is really good in this business. Another one is we had a business owner that was trying to sell his business, and I was already in a position where I worked with all his daughters except for one. And in that scenario, I knew all the players, and I eventually met with a third one, and I realized that this business doesn't need to be sold. This business needs to stay in the family. The family had some fairly, the children were doing fine. We'll just say that. But I felt like I was able, not taking credit, family gets all the credit. Remember, we're just the guys, they're the heroes. But I was able to kind of guide them into a plan to keep this family in the business for generations. And we can't call it a success yet, but it's on its way to that success.
Yeah.
And that's really fun to see, to take a dad who's been really successful in business and be able to translate that success where probably 4 or 5 generations from now, people are less concerned about resources and more concerned about maintaining an enterprise.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really important role as a firm and and clients who work with you and me, especially, that we can pick stuff like that out and help people dream bigger.
Yeah.
Let's think bigger. Let's don't just think about liquidating this. And if you think about that in a normal firm, be like, oh yeah, we're going to liquidate this because that's AUM.
Right.
That could have been $30 million in AUM.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And instead, that's not where my mind went. My mind went to, how do we keep this in the family? This is a cash cow. There's no debt. Like, this is a business that families should come together on, and we could thrive here. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
From all the people I've worked with, that's been a pretty cool case to work on. I guess a third example over the years goes back to the beginning again. And I have so many examples. Every client has a unique story, and I could sit here and just talk about every family, but they probably all figure out who they are, and that'd be embarrassing. but she's passed away, so I can say this one by her name, but her name is Nancy Christie, and she was a larger client at the time when I acquired the company. And I acquired the company in 2007. That's the worst time to buy a wealth management firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, paid a price for it that was more than fair. But you buy the firm, you're the new person, and you go to see this really sweet elderly lady and try to tell her that her portfolio is down at the time like 25%. That was just the beginning of the financial crisis.
And she doesn't know you?
And she hardly knows me.
That's
right?
hard. That's hard conversation.
And
you learn real fast how to talk to people.
You learn real fast how to talk to people. But I drove to her house. She would come to the office every now and then, but I mostly went to her house to visit with her. And I remember her looking at me going, young man, this is nothing. I grew up at the tail end of the Depression, and we're going to be just fine. And I think that was probably one of the few client meetings where, financially speaking, I've come out more ahead than the client.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, not financially, but I have to talk more emotionally, but just talking about money.
Right.
She won that argument, but she won it in my favor. Where a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, how am I going to live? How am I going to do? And she just had so much calm and wisdom. And it started this whole relationship with her that she would send my kids Christmas presents. This is when they were little. She would send them Christmas presents. And she tried later in life when she couldn't drive anymore. She would try to send them like cash. I'd have to take it back.
You're like, no.
I was like, no, we can't be
that.
sending cash to anybody related to me. Do not get me in trouble, please. But she was so sweet. I remember she had so much back pain, but she was always smiling. And we developed this really, really close relationship, just as two human beings. And there's so much wisdom. And from her, there ended up being a lot of other widows that found us over time who all lived pretty close to the office.
Yeah.
And so I took her and scheduled a lunch with all the other widows, thinking they got to know each other somehow. You can't live within 5 miles of each other and not have run into each other. And it turns out, her husband owned a tractor company, and the other widow, her husband was a pediatrician in town. And they found out that, oh yeah, we bought a tractor from your husband. And, oh yeah, our kids went to your husband as when they were little, the pediatrician.
Love the connection.
And so that's where the Wiser Women was born. So we have this Wiser Women group that, right now they're not mobile. So we don't do, lunches anymore right now, but we do special things, like we send them flowers for Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. So you think Valentine's Day, assuming they're in a happy marriage, who knows? But that's the day that they would not get flowers because they don't have a loved one with them, and so we would send them everywhere. We send our Wiser Women red roses, which is pretty cool. And then we also check in them a little more statistically. They're most likely to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So we have to check in and make sure that everything's going okay with them. But those are probably some more memorable moments over the last few years. One more current from a long time ago. They want us to talk about like the future of Wiser a little bit. My goal is to not lose our culture as a firm. But we are on a race to grow our firm to $1 billion in assets, meaning that our firm manages $1 billion in assets under management. And it's not necessarily for wealth reasons that I want to do that, though that's a benefit. But it's for self-preservation of the firm. Because you have a firm with $1 billion in assets.
Yeah. You
have enough revenue to pay people well, to make sure you're hiring the best people. And it makes the ecosystem run better. Your firm can take advantage of other firms, not advantage in a negative way, but take advantage of situations where solo practitioners pass away and, where do those clients go? We could welcome them into our firm. If I died, my firm is not going to evaporate overnight because I'm not here. Right.
So and it won't today either.
No. We have a succession plan in place internally for the firm now, but as of this recording, episode number 300, and doing this recording in July, we're around $460 million in assets under management. but we grow 25 to 35% a year.
Mm-hmm.
So we could hit this goal in the next few years, but it takes a lot of client referrals. And we don't ask clients for referrals, but we get a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right. So the future of Wiser, I think, looks much like it does now, but it's Casey and Michaela and Grace and Caroline working as a team, and then your team with you and William and Alex replicating what we've been doing all these years. Right. And then as William's really close to being a financial advisor now. So eventually he has a team, and eventually Michaela has a team.
Right.
And so you have all these different pods or teams of people with different expertise, but they all do the planning process the exact same way that we've been doing it for these last few years.
Yeah.
And we're able to replicate what I created. That's what I want as a founder.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, or make it better.
Right.
Always try to improve. So
you're always ahead of technology or
I try to
trying
be
new things.
Yeah, I try to be, and
you
doing
really
a deep dive into AI now and how that can help us with efficiencies.
It's very impressive
and things of that.
What you do
in the future. We seem to be one of the few firms that have workflows. So if you call me and ask for something, or talk to you or anybody at this firm, we start a workflow.
Yeah.
And therefore the process of withdrawing money or depositing money or making a trade happens the exact same way, no matter who does it.
Right.
So you mistake proof your process is what you're trying to do. Right. So those are all things that we want to do as a firm. Honestly, I have to meet less with clients to make that happen. I have to transition into a CEO and a business owner. And that's hard for me because I love these families. I look at a sheet of paper and I go, oh, all these families, Michaela can probably do this better than me. William or Shawna could do this way better than me, because they don't get all the gazillion phone calls that I get. They don't have to worry about all these other systems that we're trying to create. But then I think about, but I'm not going to know about what happened with their kids, or I'm not going to know what happened. So I just get personally involved in it. But my role has to change into where I can lead the group, but I have confidence that the existing group can meet with the clients with the same passion that I do. And so that's something that, as a business owner, you have to be able to let go of some of that. So I unfortunately, in the future, there's less of FaceTime with me probably. Yeah. But there's, as I do at the meetings with people that you've taken over for me, I at least like to step in and shake hands and, I like the banter and the cut up before the meeting more than I like the actual meeting. So I still get to do that. Right.
Come in and interrupt.
And disrupt things.
Yeah.
But 10 years from now, we should be a $1 billion firm inside that. 20 years from now, we should be a $2 to $3 billion firm. Yeah. It's hard to fathom that. But we want to be able to, be the same people that we are today. That's the hard part. Right. That's the hard part. Right. How do you have a client who's been here for 20 years walk in the front door, but get greeted by someone they've never seen before, but they have to make them feel like that they've always been here. Yeah. And so those are things that we have to work on really hard as a team, that we don't lose that culture. Right. Absolutely. 100%. But yeah, I think the future is very bright. We have a great group here, and the ones that haven't cut it have kind of self-selected out. We haven't had to do too many firings. No, not at all. They kind of like, this isn't for me. Process though. In the hiring process. Right. Yeah. No. I learned that probably 10 years ago, who I need to hire. So that could be a whole nother episode. But yeah, 300, we did it. I don't like looking back. I only like looking forward. They forced me into this episode, dadgummit, but it's been 300 episodes of learning, chatting, teaching, educating, people about various topics. And, as long as we keep working in some, airplane, talk every now and then with, the pilot groups that I like talking with, then I'm going to keep doing it. All right. So there's a few other episodes. If you want to learn more about me or Shawna, take a listen to episode 251, Shawna Theriault's road to becoming a financial advisor. Gosh, she's a badass. Like, she's really a badass. Hard worker, super smart, probably the smartest person I know, honestly. Episode 251, episode 241. Heart and History of Wiser Wealth Management. That's with me. Michaela interviewed me, and then she started talking about my kids, and I kind of cut up like I was gonna start crying or something. But that's a good episode 241. I do this all for the kids, right? Episode 173, Making the Most of Your Airline 401k, because we talked about that earlier. Episode 168 was the 529 plan line that everyone seems to like. Episode 184, if you really want to learn about the retirement travelers and how you can sell everything and live out of your backpack. Episode 184 is a good one to listen to. But thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Wiser Wealth Management or want to schedule a consultation to meet with one of our fiduciary financial advisors like Shawna or Michaela or myself, you can do so by going to wiserinvestor.com or clicking in the episode notes. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to a Wiser Retirement podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you don't miss any new episodes. We'd also appreciate if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed today, head to wiserinvestor.com and reach out. This podcast is strictly for informational purposes only and is not to be considered as investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or any other investment vehicles, or a basis to make any financial decisions. Wiser Wealth Management Incorporated is a registered investor advisor with the SEC. The host and/or guests may personally own securities, digital assets, or other investment vehicles mentioned on this podcast. Neither the host nor guests of the show are compensated for their participation, and no referral fees are paid to or received by any host or guest for clients, listeners, or similar interests. Investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, insurance professional, and/or legal professional before implementing any strategy discussed herein. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.